Hello, and welcome to another episode of the GovCon Giants podcast. I'm your host, Eric Coffey, and today's guest, we bring you Diane Dempsey from BAE Systems. If you're looking to do work as a small business supporting a large defense contractor, this is the episode for you to tune into. In this interview, Diane and I go over the top 10 things that small businesses should be doing or must be doing in order to work with some of the larger enterprises, such as her company. But more importantly, the last 30 plus years of her experience that she's been teaching this and helping small businesses. We go over some of the things that people are doing right, they could be doing better, ways that they can improve, and much more in this upcoming interview. Take out your pen and paper, get ready to follow Miss Diane Dempsey.
Good morning. My name is Diane Dempsey, and I'm the Director for Small Business Programs for BAE Systems, Intelligence and Security Sector, and we're headquartered in Northern Virginia.
Good morning, Diane. Welcome to the show today. Happy to have you.
Thank you.
And as we were talking kind of off screen, you do a lot of conferences and a lot of events.
Yes, I do. I find that outreach is important. We do it on multiple levels at BAE Systems. We try and do virtual. It's easier that way. I'm on a lot of panels that, you just dial in and you're there for an hour, hour and a half, and then there's no travel time. You don't have to worry about traffic. I find that small businesses can dial in. It's easier. It's not as burdensome for them. And then, of course, we do in-person. I really get a lot of energy out of doing the in-person conferences. Right. You can engage a little more. So I like to balance it. And then we do our own internal, not conferences, of course, but we set up blocks of time where small businesses can Zoom in and we can chat with them. They're allowed to do their pitches. And we invite some of our internal folks to join us, so that if they have questions for the small businesses, they can engage at that time. So we do a mix, and I am very active in the community.
That's interesting. How do small businesses find out about the one that you host at BAE Systems? How do they find out about that?
That's invitation only.
Okay.
So if a company reaches out to me and they follow the instructions that we normally give, meaning don't just give me a data dump about your company, tell me how you fit into, what our mission is, meaning our customers' needs, because we only react to our customers. We don't build tanks and armored vehicles and communication systems and radar systems and put them on shelves. We don't do that. We actually build things on the product side of our house that meet the requirements in our contracts, and our services are the same. Okay. So if a company actually reaches out and we feel like there's some connectivity there's some synergies, then we will invite them to present. And I've had a certain level of success with our internal capture managers and business development managers actually dialing in because it's easy. And they can actually look at the small business. It's not just an email. They don't have to call someone or check their website, although they do that too. So we've had a level of success with that. I'm real pleased. And again, as we become more familiar and more comfortable with our virtual interactions, we're going to grow that more and more, hopefully to engage small businesses. We do very well. Across the board, our scorecard is extremely healthy. We met all of the DoD goals last year. Wow. And of course, those goals are pretty high. And I'm most proud of our Hub Zone achievement, because that's been a challenge for not just industry, but government agencies as well. And we actually did 4.5% with Hub Zone last year. So very pleased with that.
Right. No. I know Hub Zone's one of those ones that everyone has challenges meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure it's good. No, that's good. What do you think that you're doing differently so that you're able to have such a healthy scorecard?
I think our focus is on actually introducing small businesses into our supply chain when they're needed. So we're front end. We're involved at the draft RFP level. In some cases, we're actually engaged at the RFI level. So that's request for information. I'm sorry, I speak in those. I fall prey to the acronyms. I apologize. But that is important because that gives us a clear view of, okay, what's our supplier mix going to look like? And I will say that the care and feeding for our small businesses has been excellent. As long as I've been with this company, and I'm going to celebrate 17 years in February with BAE, it's interesting that we have some small businesses that have been with us longer than I have with BAE. So there are legacy small businesses that just we include always, and then if they can't support the actual opportunity because they're limited in their resources as well, then we get busy looking for, second sourcing, third sourcing, fourth sourcing. And that's what my team really focuses on, is making sure that we have what we need and that our subcontracting plan, which has to be submitted at time of our offer, is healthy. And I might also say that we live up to our commitments. So if we have a teaming agreement in place with a small business, we have to honor that. So lots of times small businesses will say, well, you just won this contract. Yeah, we did. And we went in with a full team. So that's a little hard to hear. I understand that. But that's why small businesses have to be involved at the front end as well. Going to industry days, tracking opportunities, understanding what's coming up in terms of what that customer is projecting is, so important. So marketing research, I cannot stress it enough, is key to the success for small businesses, knowing what's coming in the forecast, and every single agency posts their forecast. It's not a secret. So attend industry days. Lots of times our folks are at industry days, and that's the best time to approach them, seriously. And I have no problem with that. I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm a cheerleader. So if you have an opportunity to talk to a capture manager, good for you.
I like that. No, I like that. And like I said in the beginning, I'm sure you could probably run this whole thing and interview me. So I love that. That's, she said, attend industry days. So tell me, you've been there, like I said, you're celebrating your 17 years. Originally, your title was Director of Socioeconomic Business Programs. Now your title is Director of Small Business Programs. What's different? What's changed?
So it's just like anything else. It's the branding.
Okay.
So again, we've always focused on small and socioeconomic. We're 99% DoD. Okay, we're a defense contractor. Right. We do some civilian work, but it usually aligns to defense in some form or fashion, whether it be FBI, DHS, etc. So again, we kind of go with the flow. And at one point in time, my title was socioeconomic programs because that was the buzzword. And now it's back to small business programs because it really clearly defines what we do. We are focused on small. I have been approached many times by minority-owned businesses that are large, and they are treated as a large business, not a small business. So I think that this is much more descriptive in terms of what our role is.
Right. So in that case, for a minority-owned business that was large, would you still be the first person I need to talk to, or should I go?
No, they're a large business. Now, of course, I can help them in terms of, okay, so you need to go to procurement and blah, 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 blah. But I'm not going to spend the time championing them that I would a small minority-owned business, because that is really my function.
Right.
And they're the ones that really need my help. If you're a large minority business, you've already achieved a certain level of success.
Right. No, and we appreciate that, and thank you for that. And I would imagine that the listeners tuning in like to hear as well. So what would be an example, right? And again, if I met you at an industry day conference, I know we said get on the front of the market research. Give me an example of a good way to approach you and a not so great way to approach. How's that?
Okay. A not so good way to approach me is come up and say, hi, my name is Bob Smith, and I want to work for BAE Systems.
Right.
So first of all, you don't even know the name of my company, okay? And that's kind of a fun joke. I have so much fun with that because a lot of people, they just don't understand that it's BAE, it's not BAE. Right. So we joke around with that. You have to have fun in this job because it helps to put people at ease. I want people to feel like we're approachable, but you need to really understand who we are and what we do. And there's no excuse not to, because we can all sit in front of our TVs with our laptops in the evening in our pajamas and fluffy slippers, and we can research the companies that we want to approach, right? Yes. And you can learn so much from just spending a few minutes on a website. It would be very clear to anyone that visited our website that we're a huge global defense contractor. And that, our focus is the warfighter at every level, whether it be building missiles, long guns, repairing ships, building communications and avionics panels, you name it, we do it. It's just really, really interesting. I already mentioned the armored vehicles, or in the intelligence community side, tracking counter terrorists and making sure that, we're, helping the code breakers, et cetera. That's the kind of work that we do. So you need to understand what kind of work we do, who our customers are, and then you have to dig a little bit deeper to understand, where do I fit? So going to like Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, intelligence communities that are in the defense space and understanding what their mission is helps you to align to not just BAE, but other large defense contractors. So that's how you should prepare yourself. And then when you approach us, clearly define. I was, looking in FPDS, for instance, and I noticed that there's, a proposal that was just released, and it's with, let's say, Missile Defense Agency. And they need to have some network engineering done or whatever. And this is what I do. And I've done it many times. And these are my clients. And this is my past performance. That really gets people's attention. It tells them that you're tracking things. That allows me to just forward that over to the capture team. And they can make the evaluation versus somebody that just stumbles up and says, hey, I want to work for BAE Systems. And I'm like, okay, so what do you do? And there's no fit. And that's a hard conversation because nobody enjoys rejection. And trust me, nobody enjoys having to deliver that message.
I like that. I didn't think about that. Right. I'm a woman-owned business. I'm a veteran-owned business.
That's interesting, but it's really about capabilities. It's always about what can you do to help our customer? What can you contribute? Do you have subject matter experts? Are you building a fantastic new cutting edge product that would actually meet the specs that the government has set forth? Understanding that environment is very, very important. You also need to understand that it's highly competitive. We've been successful with small businesses for many, many, many years. So there is a line, and you're competing with other small businesses. So you really want to shine. You want to put your best foot forward. It's almost like a job interview. Wear your best suit, be prepared, don't embellish. Oh, that's the worst. Do not embellish.
Okay.
Because we're going to look under the covers and we're going to know. And when you're having technical discussions with our engineering staff, they're going to know. And in many cases, our customer intimacy is so ingrained because we've been with these customers for so many years that if you're name dropping, we're going to know. And we're going to know if you have that relationship. So never go there. It's not suggested ever that you embellish. It doesn't pay dividends.
I just looked it up. It says you have 90,000 employees.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they all report to me.
Wow. They all report to you.
I'm kidding.
I know. I'm just
So we are a global company.
No, I see. It says 7th
Yeah.
largest.
Yes.
Yeah. Biggest manufacturer in Britain, 7th largest defense contractor. So, no, that's amazing. That's incredible. Well, no, I like that. Do not embellish. Have a SME. Are you building a fantastic new product? Know what we do, and forecast opportunities. I'm taking notes.
Well, okay, everybody doesn't have a SME. Okay, that's understandable, but it's an attribute. So if you have one, if you have an SME on your staff, you know, you need to learn to share that information, and you need to do it in a very succinct manner. I've probably now judged about 7 of these pitch contests. That's the new thing.
Yeah.
You know, give your pitch, right?
Yes, yes.
And some of the things that I underscore is say the name of your company 3 times so I can remember, right? In your elevator speech, manage to entwine that in that quick little snippet about your company. The name of my company is, we were established in, you know, we've had 10 years of experience doing cybersecurity. We currently support whomever, and we're located in Washington, D.C. That's just a snippet, but you have to say the name of your company a couple times so that we can remember, because we're being approached by hundreds. And when I get back from the National Small Business Conference in the middle of February, I will have probably met with just this year, with close to 2,000 small businesses. Yeah, because at that conference, they're expecting 1,500 attendees, and I've already done a couple events. So it's hard to keep up with. So you need to really be prepared when you go to conferences. And if you want to engage, sign up for matchmaking early, find out where, you know, maybe a large business's booth is located, go by, say hello, be ready, be prepared, have your business cards ready.
Do you prefer the old style business cards with the names and numbers on it, or the ones with the QR codes? Do you have a preference?
So I can go with the you know, QBR code. That's fine. That's fine. But you need to remember that there are a lot of people that are not comfortable with that yet.
Okay.
So I suggest, because I've gotten several that have both, and I think it's super smart.
Okay.
And I know that this has been pushed a lot. Put your NAICS codes. Well, okay. Let's be frank about NAICS codes. They're very high level. So if we look at engineering services,
Ooh.
What does that mean? Or, you know, if you're looking at something for computer related, what does that mean? So I suggest that you actually put down the 4 or 5 things that you're really, really good at. And if it is systems engineering, say it's systems engineering. Okay. If it's computer forensics, say computer forensics. If it's cybersecurity, then be specific. The same with your capability statement. NAICS codes are interesting. We're going to have to look them up anyway. You're going to have to certify to them. But it's more descriptive if you tell us exactly what you do.
I actually love this because I think a lot of times, my analogy is any sport, right? You have to practice doing the same thing over and over again. And so as many times we've said this to small business, as many times as I said it, it does not hurt to say it again. It does not hurt to reinforce. And also, those are some small nuances that can make a big difference, because I never knew, I never even considered that you might meet with potentially 2,000 small businesses per year. I didn't even.
It's no. That's just, I would say, the first quarter. It's stunning how many. Well, yeah, because we're doing outreach a lot. You mentioned that I get invited to do a lot of panels and things like that. I'm extremely active in the small business community, as is my team across the country. And when you think about all the organizations that we support, and we support them because this allows them to function and help small businesses, the Minority Supplier Development Councils, the PTACs, otherwise, and the new name is Apex Accelerator. They're across the country. We work with them as well. It's extraordinary how many people you actually interact with, and how many people there's, anywhere I go, somebody knows me, which makes it really, really nice, because you have someone to interact with, and then they introduce you to other people, and before you know it, you know the whole room. So I enjoy meeting new people, and small business owners fascinate me. I have a incredible respect for entrepreneurs. I'm married to one, and both of my kids are entrepreneurs. So I live your dream/nightmare every day, waiting for those checks to come in, hoping to win those contracts. I get it.
No, what's kept you there for 17 years?
Well, it's interesting because I just had this conversation with a lady that used to work for me, and she thought her path was going to be in another direction. And she somehow or another filtered back to supplier diversity. And I said to her, this is exactly what happened to me. No matter what, it draws you. What I like to think of is I can impact people's lives in this role. There aren't too many jobs, unless you're a doctor or a dentist or maybe an attorney, where you actually feel like you can affect change. I do it politically. I'm not an activist in the true sense of the word. You have to be careful in that role because of the company that I represent. But I actually support a lot of nonprofits. I serve on boards, committees. I provide leadership. I have a varied background. So not only have I been in supply chain, I've also taught contracts, and I taught a lot of business classes at the collegiate level. So I have a broad body of experience that I think I bring to the table. So I actually teach SBLOs, and I do a lot of sessions for small businesses that I hope will help them with their growth and development. So that's what draws me. That's what keeps me here, is that I feel like I have a mission. And I would like to think that I can also affect other professionals in this field through leadership. This is what we do, and this is how we should be doing it. And it's not for people that are not highly committed. You just have to love this, because it's a lot of long hours. When we do conferences, those are usually 14 to 16-hour days.
Oh my goodness.
So again, I run my program, and most of my colleagues run their programs just like you would a small business. So I think that we understand the demands of time. So I'm always encouraging little shortcuts and ways to be efficient and effective. I just gave a presentation to DIA. They have a small business forum, and it's on procurement readiness. And it's about a lot of the things that small businesses overlook in terms of business acumen. They may have been aware of it, but they have forgotten about it, or they've never been exposed to it because they didn't have that exposure in their past life. And when they became an entrepreneur, these are the things that have actually provided tremendous challenges for them. So again, I like to teach as much as I can too. It's not just always about, hey, can you give me a contract? I can give you some pretty savvy advice too.
No, and that's why we want you here, and that's why we invite our guests on, because you're right. I mean, even myself, when I go back at some of my website stuff, I go, we haven't looked at that thing in 2 years or a year, right? It's a, I forgot to change that. I forgot to update this.
Yes,
You know.
that's a suggestion. That's one of my suggestions. You need to have processes that are streamlined that will trigger you to check those things and update those things on a regular basis. Because it's just like anything else, just like cleaning out your closet. If you do it on a regular basis, it's not hard. But if you only do it once every 5 years, you have to have medication to even begin the job, right?
Yeah,
so again, I like to think in terms of keeping the checklist and staying on task.
I like that, having a process that's streamlined so the trigger to update these things. I like that. That's good. Yeah, I need to definitely like put it in our calendar or something so we can update.
Yes, absolutely.
What are some of the other things that you say small business might know, excuse me, but they tend to forget?
Well, I think you need to pay attention to, of course, marketing. Following up is very important. If you're going to invest your time in going to conferences, pay attention. What's the real ask? Don't send them what you think they want. Deliver what they ask for. And I think that we need to have more process in place to respond to that. So what I always suggest is set up scripts, teach your staff how to leverage them so that you are responsive. If I don't hear from a small business within a certain period of time, I did a panel on Tuesday night, and I actually made it my business because I announced it while I was on the panel. I said, I drove all the way over here. This is my evening. I'm here until 9 o'clock. If you don't follow up with me within 48 hours, you're not interested, right? And it doesn't have to be a lot. It's just, I enjoyed interacting with you, and I will send you the information you requested next week. But you need to stay connected if you're serious. This business of, well, I sent him an email and I never heard from him. Well, you should see what my email looks like. So if you don't hear from someone, send them a reminder in about 2 weeks, but send the same information, including the attachments. You have to make it easy for people. You need to understand what everybody is dealing with, okay? So again, if you're targeting a company or an agency, you need to be intentional. That's very, very important. So follow-up is important. Can I just say, you need to make sure that anything you send out is grammatically correct and there are no misspelled words. Seriously, folks. Because if I'm going to use you to write a proposal and you can't even compose an email, that's a non-starter for me. Seriously. So you need to think about the little things that actually are hot buttons for people. Your website, the maintenance of your website is critical. I can guarantee you every single capture manager that I send information to goes to your website. The reason why I know that is they give me feedback. And they'll go, they don't have any of this stuff on their website. And I am just like, oh no, really? So those things are important, and you need to be prepared to engage. Don't approach me at a table and not be able to answer my questions. If you come and sit down in front of me and I'll go, so who are your customers? Really? You should know those things. This is your business. This is what you get paid to know. So now I'm a little more forgiving than most. I'll go, all right, go back and do the research and email it to me. But I hammer them pretty hard because I want to make sure that they don't do that again with somebody else that isn't as forgiving. So being prepared to have a real discussion is important. And I'm telling you, I meet some really good small businesses this way. Very impressive. I had an opportunity, and it was the Virginia Asian Chamber of Commerce. They hosted an event in Northern Virginia, and we're partners with them. And I was actually speaking there too, but we had a table and a little company came by and they were so together. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was like, this is perfect for what I need. I was able to send their information because they went, I'm telling you, they went outside into the lobby and sent me the information. I sent it over to the capture team, and they actually had an interview the next day. But it's because they were together. Timing is everything. And the timing was so good. I was actually on the hunt. And I do that when, well, I ask, okay, so what do you need? What are the gaps? I'm going to do this show. And, I don't want to just show up and shake hands. That's a waste of my time. I want it to be real. I want it to be effective. I want there to be some return on investment for my time, my company's investment, and the small businesses too. I mean, they're paying money to come to these things, and there needs to be some kind of real traction. And I'm honest with people. I will say, I really don't have anything right now. And when I was doing the the DIA presentation, I mentioned the SIA IDIQ. I said, oh, by the way, folks, when we submitted our proposal, we had to have our team locked down. So we really don't have anything for that particular IDIQ. So think about other new upcoming opportunities. And if you see anything that you think is in your swim lane, I mean, really in your swim lane, don't go chasing the shiny new penny. You need to be able to deliver. Then reach out to me. So I try and be honest and manage expectations.
How would we know if there was something that maybe, again, I see it on a forecast and I see the government's going, how do I know what things that you might be wanting to pursue? Or should I just, if I see something I think you might pursue, should I reach out at that point? Right?
Good
because
question.
Yeah. Because we don't know what you're chasing necessarily.
So when you're looking at the forecast, typically they will tell you who the incumbent is. If there is an incumbent, they will tell you. So you really need to reach out to them. Absolutely. But you also need to know who's in that space. And typically, and we all swim in the same, swim lane for the most part. So you know who the players are if you're tracking certain things. You look at the actual requirements to see, is this something that I'm really strong in? Do I have the past performance to support it? More importantly, do I have the current staff to support it? And if I don't have current staff, do I have the reach back? Meaning, do I have another partner that I can reach out to? Because if you come to us and say, yeah, I can do this work, and then we get you all signed up, and we win the award, and then you can't staff it, then we move on. You don't want that to happen. So you really do need to have a perspective on what's really doable. Then you bring it to somebody like me and you say, whether it's me or another major prime, this is what's in the RFP or the draft. Let's go for draft because it's always best at the draft level. This is in the draft. This is what we do, and this is where we've done it, and X number of times, et cetera. Give us your past performance citations. And I'm telling you, I've had a lot of traction with that. Be intentional.
So if I can help write up at least my piece in my swim lane, that's beneficial to you?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's great. So, I mean, like I said, if this is what I do every day of the week, I'm the best in my local region.
Don't ever say you're the best because you can't support that. That's another error that a lot of we go with this very flowery language. Really? You're the best? And how did you prove that? Do you have some scholarly research that can support? So don't even go there. Just say, we have a solid track record of X number of years. We've supported this number of, customers, our staff composition. And this is another key discriminator is your staff composition. How many have clearances? What are their certifications? What's your CMMC level? remember, pay attention to not only your cyber hygiene, but your financial health. That's very important. Oh yeah, we're doing Dun & Bradstreet reports.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we look under the covers.
Well, it's interesting because now that they're using UEI numbers, people think,
Don't
oh,
mistake what that's, but
I know.
don't mistake what that's for. That
I-
doesn't mean that Dun & Bradstreet reports have gone away. That just means that they don't use the DUNS number as an identifier.
Correct.
Okay.
No, that's good. I hope everyone's listening to this. I mean, because a lot of people said, Eric, so I don't need DUNS running numbers anymore. I was like, no, it's not what that means.
Yes, exactly.
So she's telling me they're going back and they're looking at this. So if you,
Yes, absolutely. Well, how else are we going to check your finances? We have to make sure that you're viable. If you start the race, we want to finish the race, correct?
yes,
And you don't want to have a company that, number one, can't make their payroll, who suffers, the employees. And clearly it's not just the employees, it's the customer, because there's this disruption in supply chain, whether it be products or services. And we have to scurry around and find a replacement. And reprocurement costs are very high. So again, we look under the covers. We have to make sure the customer does the same thing to us. You couldn't believe the stuff we have to submit. So yeah, we're going to do the same.
wow. I like it because you're like a gentle giant.
I hope that's not in relation to my waistline.
I don't think if I can see your waistline from here. No, but you're tough on us, which is good. I like to, it's great to be tough on us here so that we're prepared when we show up. So
okay, this is how I try and frame it.
Okay.
I tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I can give you lip service. I think I have more respect for small businesses than that. I tell you what you need to know. And I know that I am firm, but I will tell you some of the emails that I have received over the years bring tears to my eyes when people say, you gave me some really good information. You coached me 5, 6 years ago, and I did exactly what you told me to, and I'm amazed at what happened. I'm amazed they listened. That's what's amazing to me. But it is absolutely gratifying. And again, I know that small business owners have huge egos. You have to take that leap of faith and start your own business. So taking advice from people can be challenging sometimes.
Right.
Because you think you know it all. And what I've learned in my career and in my life, I'm learning from small businesses. You can learn from each other. That's the great thing about sharing of information. This business of, I'm not going to tell them everything they need to know, or I'm not going to share that information, because then that makes me sound better or more powerful. I really haven't changed my advice in years. I really haven't. I've had to tweak it and update it because, there have been some changes in the market. But for the most part, it's that basic foundational type of approach that really is the most effective. Get it together, do your homework, be prepared, be intentional, and deliver. Execution is everything. You can talk, but when you get up to bat, you got to swing hard and you got to knock it out of the park.
I like that. No, going back to the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the basics. I'm trying to think of I don't know, other new approaches that I've seen out there that people are doing. You said your team. So are there more people in your position? Do you have a team underneath you? How does that work in terms of?
So we have an enterprise team.
Okay.
That supports various sectors, and some are down at the business area level, some are at the sector level. And so because we offer different products and services. and we have different customers. So our armored vehicle division obviously supports their big customers, Army. Our electronic systems division supports both Navy and Army. We're a subcontractor to Lockheed Martin on the F-35, which is a big Navy program. Our ship repair business is, I'm sure you can figure that out, Navy. So we also do a lot of work for Air Force, Nav Air, Nav War, Nav Sea, also the intelligence community. So we have support across the sector. Do we have a lot of people? No, we never have enough. I mean, that's, we're struggling in general in supply chain because finding people that are qualified as employees is always a challenge. There's been a lot of movement in the labor market. Everybody's dealing with it. But I think that we have a good team. We collaborate a lot. We share information, which I think is very important. And when I represent BAE, I represent the entire corporation. So I try and speak to, hey, we have a requirement over in the shipyard. Our group up in New Hampshire that focuses on electronic sensors and systems, I can send information up to them. We also have a cyber program for those on your podcast that are interested in cyber. It's called Fast Labs. And we do actually post things that we're interested in so that if small businesses are pursuing those types of technologies and they have concepts, we can help them build those concepts, because remember, most of them don't even get to phase 2 because concepts are not really as developed as they should be. So we try and help small businesses develop their concepts so that they can move to level 2. So we are, I think, integrated into the businesses, into the procurement process. I'm very proud of my team because we were named as one of the procurement teams of the year as a finalist, which we're a global corporation. So to be recognized at that level for the small business program is impressive. So yeah, we're working hard every day.
No, that's a big deal. And just for everyone out there, because we kind of flew past this, you said you train SBLOs. Can you just?
Yes, I do.
Because again, that's another acronym that you and I know that the community is.
Right. So that's your small business liaison officers, people like myself, small business professionals, whatever you want to call them. There's an organization that I've been teaching for over a decade now. And it's to really help them, in my opinion, first of all, overcome that incredible learning curve. And more importantly, focus on what's really important in the job and hope to develop them in a more professional manner, because they have to know so many elements of the FAR. And we are audited on a regular basis by Defense Contracts Management Association. Oh yeah. So let me tell you, when people say, oh, those large businesses, they get away with everything. You have no idea the scrutiny that we're under. So they come to see us. We view DCMA very much like the big bad world views IRS. We're here to help you. Great. But we have developed a collaboration with DCMA that's more on an educational level now. So they're doing more training for SBLOs. SBA has also stepped up in that regard, which I'm very pleased with. These were things that we asked for. I also lead a group. I'm the co-chair and have been for 17 years for the Triad, which is an industry group of SBLOs. And we actually discuss best practices, share different techniques for engaging small businesses, the basic mechanics of what we have to do in our roles every day to meet not only trying to attract small businesses, how do we deal with our internal customers in procurement and engineering and business winning, And then more importantly, how do we satisfy our customers? So we are, as I say to everyone, our job is nothing but rejection. You can't do enough for the small businesses. You can't do enough for our internal customers, and you can't do enough for the government. And as hard as we try, you can never really reach the pinnacle. We're always moving forward. So it continues to be a challenging job, which I like.
Yeah, and it was funny because you answered my question. I was gonna ask you, tell me the challenges of your job. So you kind of laid it out. But
Yeah.
I do find that difficult because anyone who works for a substantial size organization, even when I'm looking at jobs, you have to bring it back and sell it to the internal team to say, hey, do you want to pursue that? Right.
Yes.
And they're like, well, tell me why should we pursue this? And what are our chances? And what's our P-win rate like? And so there's a lot. So I could understand that. And I think it helps when someone like yourself comes out here and expresses that to us, because we're only looking at things from our lens.
Of course.
Right? Because
Of course.
as human beings, right, naturally, we're thinking about ourselves. And
Yes,
so,
of course.
this is great that you come on here and you can clarify some of those things that even myself I didn't consider. That's good. So that's good. No, so again, you're preparing us to go talk to other SBLOs.
Absolutely.
And that's amazing, and we appreciate that. Are there any things like books or things that you recommended to small businesses who are first starting out? Any other resources to go
Yes.
and learn this?
Yes. So a gentleman asked me the other night, and I have to tell you, it's kind of a funny story. He said, because a young lady asked me, hey, would you consider, can we get together? I need a mentor. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, but I don't have any more bandwidth. I do mentor a lot of people, and they're mostly, for the most part, they're SBLOs, but I also have a couple internal people at BAE that I kind of shepherd along.
Makes
But
sense.
this young man said, well, what books are you reading? And I'm telling you, I didn't put it in proper context. And I said, I'm reading this really interesting book by Barbara Killsolver, and it's called Demon Copperhead. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I'm in a book group, so I wasn't thinking. And he goes, no, I mean, business books. Well, okay. So I used to teach intro to business and I taught economics, I taught human relations, I taught procurement, I taught all kinds of classes. Things change. By the time things go to print, things have changed. So I'm not so much a textbook as I am, you need to read Fortune and Business Week and stay in tune with what's happening now. Did we not see a couple business shifts in the last 3 years?
Oof.
So what are some of the things that we saw? First of all, we got hit with a global pandemic. So we had to shift how we do our work. And it's been a mind blower, right? I mean, I remember when we first got on our first Zoom call and we didn't have our cameras positioned. We didn't know how to light things. I mean, and now we do it all day long.
Right. Very
Another thing was the stressors on the supply chain as a result of the pandemic. So when I was very young and first in college, what did they teach you? Just in time. So don't have any inventory, right? Because I was an inventory control manager at one point. Don't have any inventory. You need to rely on your suppliers to deliver within 24 hours. So we were shifting the burden. Well, okay, we did. We shifted the burden. We shifted the burden overseas. So we couldn't get the product off the docks or on the trains because everybody was sick. So now we're back to, we got to have some hot spares, right? We got to have a closet full of backup, right?
Right.
So again, things changed. Then to make things even more challenging, we had the Great Resignation. So a lot of things change. If you picked up Good to Great, which I have on my bookshelf right here, if I picked up Good to Great right now, I'd be laughing at it.
Yeah.
Because the concepts are no longer relevant. Right. So I encourage reading Business Week and Fortune because they really have their fingers on the pulse of some of the changes. And did I mention Bitcoin? So, that was the hot thing, right? Oh, I got to get me some Bitcoin. Well, how's that working out for you? So again, I do think that we need to we're not chasing the shiny new penny, but we do need to stay abreast with what changes are out there. And I know my staff rolls their eyes because every morning I'm an early bird. So I'm sending them different stuff that's relevant that I read. Right. Things like the push to go back to work. There's a movement afoot in Congress to push federal workers to go back to the offices because it supports the local economy, I mean, my dry cleaning bill is nothing compared to what it used to be. I mean, nothing. Sure. So there have been shifts, and there is such a thing as, and I don't want to use a very old term, but it's trickle-down economics. It really is. So we need to pay attention to that. You need to, as a small business owner, know how to, and I'm going to quote my dear friend, Dr. Wallace, Bob Wallace, you need to know how to pivot, how to quickly change your business and align it. What worked 5 years ago is not going to work today. And our labor categories, our LCATs, are shifting as they put more emphasis in certain areas. Your hiring practices need to change too. You can no longer do this or that. And then there's a movement, and I know that you're probably paying attention to this, where for years and years and years, degrees were demanded, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Now that we're having a labor shortage, it's like, oh, did you even think about going to college? Right. As long as you can do the work,
right. That's it.
It's okay. It's okay. So again, I think that you're better off keeping your finger on the pulse, what's going on. And when I say this, know your business environment. You need to understand what the environment is, not just in your local environment. You need to look at it at a macro level. So you really do need to understand what's going on in government, not just local government, federal government, and the overall impact. We're seeing a lot of change and opportunities as a result, unfortunately, of some of these, weather disasters. That does create opportunity. So, being on the ready is always an opportunity for small business because you can pivot. A company like mine to make a major shift, not so easy.
No, I agree with you. It's interesting. Even like we're seeing people leaving out of New York, we're seeing people move to Florida. We're seeing because now you can work from home and they can work anywhere. So we're seeing this huge influx of New Yorkers coming to Florida and people from the Northeast, but they're still receiving their Wall Street paychecks and now living in Florida.
Well, that too will change.
I'm sure, but it's one of those things that's different, right? We didn't have that before.
So that's the thing is, what's going to happen to the people that pretty much uprooted themselves and moved, and then their employer goes, you know what, we need you to be in the office 2 days a week. Okay, I could do it, but I'm going to have a second home.
Right.
Or I'm going to have to stay in a hotel, or I'm going to. So again, we have to be careful that we remember what I said, don't chase the shiny new penny.
I like that. No, I like it. No, well, we're approaching our time. I did want to ask you something outside of that question, which was, do you remember or do you have a most recent purchase from Amazon that made you happy?
Next question. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I think that Amazon, in some respects, does a great job delivering product. I do stream video on Prime, but I do try very, very hard to support small business.
Okay.
So I am one of those people that tries to support my local community by buying local as much as I can.
Okay.
And I'm a slave to convenience as well as anybody else.
Right.
But I think the most gratifying, most recent purchase from Amazon was I couldn't find a game for my grandson for his birthday. Okay. And hey, it's bad for business if you show up with a crummy gift. You got to show up with the wow factor.
For the grandson.
So
for the grandson.
I ordered the game and it came and I'm on the A list. Yeah. Okay. So I give Amazon credit for that. Yes. But I do try and buy local. I try and buy small local is what I try and do.
How old's your grandson?
He's 8.
So when this comes out on YouTube and you tell him on YouTube, you're going to get some more points. Trust me. It always works with kids. They always work.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
What does he call you?
Grammy.
Grammy. Okay, yeah. I was saying that now. Yeah. Grammys.
Yeah.
Grammys on YouTube.
Yeah.
He's gonna love that. He's gonna love that. All right. Why don't you I mean, you've already closed us out 3-4 times, but I'll give you one last chance, the floor, to say something to small business out here who are listening to this. And also anything else you want to say about your company as well.
Sure. I would like to always encourage small businesses to continue to be resilient, never give up. I spoke to one of my friends that I've watched him, grow his business, and he shared with me the other evening that, during the pandemic, he got hit really hard and he had to close his business. And I said, well, I certainly hope that you plan on opening another. And he goes, oh, it's already in the works. So don't ever give up. And my husband actually had to close his first business. And he wasn't really as mature and as prepared. Remember, I focused on infrastructure, back office, business acumen. And so now, of course, 30 plus years later, he's had a very successful civil engineering practice. But a lot of that is that he had to learn the business end of it. Okay. It wasn't just the engineering side. So don't give up. You can do this. You just have to have, resilience, fortitude, commitment, passion. And that's how and why I've stayed in this position, because I get to see that in action, and it's very gratifying. We here in America have a wonderful opportunity, and it gives me great joy to see that come to fruition for small business owners. I'm not here to make anybody wealthy, but I do want everyone to be comfortable in what they're doing, feel challenged, provide for their families, create jobs if possible, and live a good life. And that's what my mission is. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. Very well said. And we appreciate you coming on today. And as well, we'll have all the contact information that you provided for us to share on the website and the podcast. So I do thank you for coming on today, and you did not disappoint at all.